Welcome back, guys. So it's been a few days since I've done a video, and since I promised to do a little kid book, I'm going to do Thumbelina today. And it's a little bit bigger, so the pictures are going to be nice and wide. Alright, so this one, I don't think I really read it when I was younger, but I've heard about it. I think I saw the movie. It was like a cartoon, kind of like Tinkerbell, but like Tinkerbell's cousin or something. So let's get started. Once there was a woman who wanted a child more than anything in the world. At last, in loneliness and sorrow, she went to a witch and spoke of her desire. "That's as easy as winking," said the witch. "Take this seed and plant it in a flower pot filled with good, rich earth. Water it carefully, and guard it very well." The woman did as the witch had said. The first time she watered the seed, a large and brilliant flower sprang up. It was still in bud, its petals tightly closed. The woman bent to kiss the flower, but the moment her lips touched the silky petals, they began to open. The woman could not believe her eyes. There inside sat a tiny little girl. She was perfectly formed, as graceful as the flower from which she'd come. When the woman held her, she discovered that she was not even the size of her thumb. Though she was a wonderful child in every way, she never grew at all. She was called Thumbelina, and was treated with great extravagance and care. Her cradle was a polished walnut shell. Each night she slept between fresh flower petals. In the daytime, she liked to sit on a table and sing in the sunlight. Her voice was very beautiful, high and haunting and silvery. One night, as she lay sleeping, a toad hopped in at the window. "What a lovely wife for my son," she said, without even looking around her. She took up the walnut shell and hopped off with it in her home by the edge of a stream. "Here, look what I brought for you," said the toad proudly to her son. But the only sound he could utter was "Gulk, och, brekkekex." "Don't talk so loud, as you would wake her," complained the toad. "She might still run away from us, for she is light as swan's down." Holding the walnut shell high, the toad swam out into the stream to an eddy where masses of water lilies grew. On a leaf far from shore she put the cradle. Then she went back to build a new room in the mud for the bride. In the morning, Thumbelina woke up and looked all around her at the great arching sky. She felt her cradle rock with the motion of the stream, and cried out in terror. The fish were swimming in the water below came to the surface, and looked curiously at Thumbelina. "Oh, please help me," she said. "I must get away from here." And so the fish began to gnaw at the lily stalk with their sharp little teeth. At last the leaf broke free and floated down the stream. Away went Thumbelina, gently spinning with the current. Gradually her fear left her, and she began to enjoy the journey. Never before had she been outside. A beautiful butterfly flew near her. Fascinated by its gossamer wings, Thumbelina sat very still to show she meant no harm. The butterfly kept darting toward the sash on her dress, and Thumbelina thought to fasten one end loosely around it. She tied the other end to the stalk of the lily pad, and the butterfly flew along, pulling the lily pad behind like a little toy boat. Thumbelina glided much faster now, but as night came on, she saw that the butterfly was growing weary. She called it to her, and asked that it take her to shore. Gently she unfastened the sash. The butterfly hovered near her for a time, then slowly flew off. Thumbelina felt sad as she watched it disappear. Now she truly was alone, and the place was a foreign land to her. The whole summer, though, Thumbelina lived by herself at the edge of the stream. She wove a bed of grass stems and hung it like a hammock under a large, spreading leaf to shelter herself from the rain. She sipped nectar from the flowers and drank the dew which lay on the leaves at dawn. But when summer ended, the plants and flowers withered. The birds that had sung to her flew away, and there was frost on the ground each morning. Thumbelina's clothes were in rags, and she shivered with the cold. Autumn passed, and then one day it began to snow. Each snowflake fell like a veil upon her. She feared that she would be buried or that she would freeze to death. Run, she thought. She must run to find shelter. The snow came at her in white swirling clouds. and she stumbled along until she came to a large cornfield. Suddenly, she saw a hole that tunneled down into the earth. It would be warmer there, perhaps, and the snow would not reach her. But when Thumbelina ran toward the hole, a field mouse appeared before her. "Come," said the creature, and beckoned her to follow. As they descended into the tunnel, Thumbelina realized that she was in the snug, small home of the field mouse. Corn was piled up all around her, and its smell was in the air. "Please," said Thumbelina, "could I have a bit more of corn to eat?" "You poor dear thing," the field mouse answered kindly. "You had better come into my room and have dinner with me." The two got on well together, and after some days the field mouse invited Thumbelina to work for her and stay the winter. Late one evening she sat to dust the floor and polish everything in the room until it shone. An important visitor was coming to call. This was a mole who was very rich and wore a sleek velvet coat, but he was blind. He hated the sun and mocked all the creatures who lived outdoors. The field mouse, however, was impressed by the mole's riches. She told Thumbelina to sing for him and tell stories of her travels. As he listened to Thumbelina's beautiful voice, the mole fell in love with her. The next time he came to visit, he said he would show them his rooms underground. By the pale light of a piece of torchwood, he led them through a long, twisting passage. Suddenly they came upon a swallow lying sprawled and dead in the passageway. Thumbelina felt very sorry for the swallow, but the mole kicked at him with his stumpy legs. "What a pitiful life to be a bird! A creature who does nothing all day but fly from branch to branch deserves to starve to death in winter." Thumbelina said nothing, but at night she crept out of bed and wove a blanket of hay. Taking up some torchwood for a lantern, she carried the blanket to the dead bird so that he might lie comfortably on the cold ground. "Goodbye, swallow," she said. "It might have been you who sang to me this summer when all the trees were green." She laid her head on his soft feathers for a moment, then darted back in fright. Something moved inside him with the slow, steady rhythm of a heartbeat. The bird was not dead. He was merely numbed with cold. The warmth of the blanket and of the Thumbelina's body had stirred him back to life. Okay, so I'm going to split this video into two parts. So this is the end of the first part, and then to continue on reading, watch part 2.